All right, let's be honest. There is zero reason we should be comparing these two products. We got the FlightScope Mevo Plus that comes in at $2,000. We then have the Garmin Approach R10, which is a launch monitor that's less than a third of the price at $600. So why am I dedicating a whole video comparing these two products? Because the reality is, this is one of the best prosumer launch monitors in the world. And this, at less than a third of the price, is almost as good. It can do a lot of the same stuff. So the question is, should you spend the extra money on the Mevo, or should you just go find a Garmin and freak out over the fact that it's only $600? Well, depending on what your needs are, either one could be the right answer, and this video is going to help you figure that out. We're just going to go through each of these products category by category. We're going to look at how they compare to each other, and then we're going to pick a winner for each category, ultimately trying to come up with what the best overall launch monitor is. I got a spoiler for you. This one is going to be better for some of you. This one will be better for others. There's not going to be an all-out winner. They're both incredible devices, but if you're trying to figure out which one is best for you, if you should spend the extra money, if you should try and save some money, that's what this video is going to help you do. All right, let's start with first impressions. So when I first opened up the Garmin R10, I was kind of blown away. You've got this cool removable tripod that it comes with. The whole thing's this like sleek black kind of sexy thing going on. It just looks good. It comes in a nice kind of faux leather case. And then it also comes with an additional clip for your phone, which is a really nice touch. So at 600 bucks, this package was freaking sleek. I was very impressed by this. On the other hand, we have the FlightScope Mevo Plus, which is built very well. Metal backing, very nice. This feels more like a GC Quad, a TrackMan. It feels more professional level. If there's a knock on it, I would say it still feels kind of small, kind of consumer-y. Doesn't feel like a professional device because it frankly isn't. The FlightScope comes with a nice canvas case. Not quite as nice over here, but as you're going to see in just a second, it may be the better fit for most people. So first impression goes to the Garmin just because I was frankly blown away at the device at that price point. All right, next up, portability and battery life, which is going to be the easier thing to carry around with you and take to the range. So because the R10 is so much smaller than, it's not that much smaller, but it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit smaller. Because the R10 is smaller, I expected that to be the far and away winner as far as portability goes. The problem is, look at these cases. So the Garmin, while it's got a smaller footprint, it's thicker. So if you want to put it in like your big sleeve in your golf bag, it actually takes up a lot of space. And if you've got like a stitch bag or something that doesn't have a whole lot of space, you're gonna have a tough time fitting this in there. And the FlightScope, which is just kind of your typical canvas case, that is nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't feel quite as nice as the Garmin. It's nice and svelte. So you can just kind of pop this thing in there, it'll slide in, and it's frankly really easy to carry around. So even though the Garmin itself is smaller, the FlightScope is easier to take with you. But there's a caveat to that. The battery life on the Garmin is about 10 hours, which is phenomenal. Battery life on the Mevo, it's only 90 minutes. And in real life practice, I found that to pretty much hold true. The battery life on the Mevo Plus really depleted very quickly. The good news is with the FlightScope, you can plug it in. So if you're thinking about using this at home in a simulator, you can plug it into, wall power and basically just leave it like that and never think about it. But if you're thinking about portability and you want to take something to range and you're going to be doing this and you want to leave it kind of semi-permanently in your bag, you got a lot to think about. The FlightScope is going to be easier to take with you, but you're going to have to keep taking it back home to charge it. Whereas the Garmin, it's going to be a little bit more of a pain in the butt to put in your bag, but it's going to stay charged for a long time. So you're going to have plenty of range sessions before you're going to have to go back and charge it. So the FlightScope, it wins in terms of portability, whereas the Garmin is going to win as far as battery goes. Okay, so what about the apps for both of these devices? So the Garmin R10 uses the Garmin Golf app, which I'm not going to lie, I've been really impressed by. If you are in the Garmin ecosystem, this app is great. So if you're using like the Z82 rangefinder, if you're using the CT10 sensors, which are kind of Arcos-like sensors that are gonna help you track every single shot, you've got one app Everything goes in there. You can get all of your data, all of your practice information, all of your round information. You've got leaderboards in there with friends. Like, it's really a pretty slick setup. And if they keep investing time and effort and they keep rolling out updates to their products, I think that app system is going to be fantastic. Whereas the FlightScope system, you have the FS Golf app as well as the FS Skills app. So the FS Golf app is what you think of when you're using your traditional launch monitor. The Skills app is more kind of fun and games on the range. Why there needs to be two separate apps for this, I don't really know. I wish they would kind of be combined, but they both work really well. So the question is, which one is better? Honestly, there's not a clear-cut answer to this. The Garmin is more consumer-friendly. You can only use it in portrait mode, which is going to be kind of a pain for some people. I also had issues connecting it to my iPad. That might be a me thing, but it was a lot easier for me to connect the FlightScope to my iPad than the Garmin. The way the information is displayed in the Garmin, you know, they use a lot of kind of illustrations, and it just feels a little bit more consumer-friendly. The average person is going to go in and be like, oh, this looks pretty good. This is easy to read. The aesthetic is a little bit more kind of cartoony, for lack of a better term, whereas you open up the FlightScope app and you feel like you are in a pro app. After using the Rapsodo, the regular Mevo, and the Garmin, once I started using the Mevo Plus and the FS Golf app, it was like, oh, whoa, this basically feels like a TrackMan to me. The way the shot tracer worked perfectly immediately after you hit the ball, the way it displays information and allows you to group all of your different shots, the way you're able to look at your practice sessions and really drill down on the information that you want, everything just felt a little bit more pro with the FlightScope. There's also a lot more parameters, there's a lot more things you can change, so it's gonna probably take you a few more sessions to really get comfortable with it, as opposed to the Garmin one. So it kind of just depends on your goals. The FlightScope is definitely more pro. If you are, you know, an instructor, if you're even doing club fittings, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable with the FlightScope app. If you are just the average person going to a range or hitting balls in your garage and you don't necessarily want to drill into the data too much, the Garmin app is going to be just fine. So this one, I give to the FlightScope by an edge, but both golf apps are really good. Okay, next up, let's talk about setup and ease of use as you're first getting going. Short version is both of these apps work great. They both pair very quickly. You know, within 2 minutes on each of them, I was on my phone, I was hitting balls, and it was tracking them. Slight difference is the R10 uses a Bluetooth connection, whereas the FlightScope uses a Wi-Fi connection. So if you are doing this on an iPad that doesn't have a cellular data connection and you are relying on internet Wi-Fi, just be aware you're gonna have to disconnect to that, connect to the FlightScope system, and it could cause you to go a little back and forth if you haven't downloaded and updated and done all the proper things. I will say, as far as setup goes, the R10 is much more plug and play out of the box. You literally, you take it, you set it up, you put it behind, you hit connect, away you go, you're getting accurate results really quickly. And what I think they've done is they've really optimized this for the average golfer. They're not optimizing this for club pros. They want the person that just wants to set it up, get pretty accurate results pretty quickly. Whereas the FlightScope, you can set it up very quickly, but what I found is there's a lot of different settings and parameters that you need to get right if you want to get accurate results. So for me, I found the tilt back and forth, it needs to be at 18 degrees if you're outside to have the best results. I've also heard if you're inside, it should be closer to 11 or 12. So you're gonna wanna test it out in different environments. But when I first did it, I really wasn't paying any attention to what the tilt was. I just kind of set it up and hoped for the best, and I wasn't getting the most accurate results. You also wanna make sure if you're using range balls, you set that. You wanna make sure you set the weather conditions and the altitude. All of these things can affect your results and can leave you in a spot where you're looking at these numbers and you're just like, these don't feel right. But once you dial it in, the accuracy with this thing is spectacular. So as far as ease of use and setting up, I'm going to actually give this one to the Garmin, just because for the average person, much more friendly, much easier to get pretty accurate results pretty quickly. But if you're going in depth and you really want to make sure that you're setting everything up properly and taking into account of everything and you don't mind doing that, then the FlightScope is going to be the way to go. All right, next up, we're gonna look at data points. Which of these two devices actually provides more data? So one of the biggest, most shocking things about the Garmin R10 is just how much data it gives you. So the one big knock I have on the original FlightScope Mevo is it doesn't give you any lateral data. So for me, if I'm trying to fix my slice, the Mevo is not going to help me out much with that. The Mevo Plus, on the other hand, has all of that and then some, and they recently announced the Pro package, where for an extra $1,000, you get the whole D-plane suite of things. So like club path, face to path, all of the things like that. What is shocking is that the Garmin R10 has some of those D-plane statistics built in as well for $600. So $3,000 here, $600 here. That being said, the accuracy across the board I have found to be more reliable once this is properly set up, but the accuracy is really pretty good with the Garmin. Like, I don't have any complaints. There are very few times where I looked at something and was like, whoa, that is wildly off. Whereas with the FlightScope, when I was first setting it up and I didn't have all the parameters dialed in, there was times where I was like, whoa, that seems like it was like 15 yards off. Again, once you get it dialed, once you make sure everything's set up properly, this thing is spot on. But the fact that this gives you nearly as many metrics as the FlightScope is really pretty phenomenal. Where I have my biggest issue with the Garmin is just the way the data is displayed. Like I said, it's more of a consumer model, so they don't do as good of a job as letting you really dig into the granular details of each of the data points. But the fact they give you those data points at all is pretty phenomenal. So as far as data points go, the FlightScope wins this because it does have more points, and generally I think it's going to be a little bit accurate, but the fact that many of those same features that FlightScope's even charging extra for with the Pro package is built into the R10, that's pretty phenomenal. All right, accuracy, I feel like we've kind of touched on this already a little bit. So basically, just to reiterate, if you set up the FlightScope properly, I found it to be within a yard every time of my rangefinder distances when I was on the range. But if you don't set it up properly, then the distances can vary wildly. Whereas the Garmin, pretty much every time it was within 2 or 3 yards. If you're an average person who's not trying to dial in your gap wedge by half a yard or whatever, the Garmin's probably going to be fine. But if you are taking this to a next level, if you're thinking about using this as like a pro practice tool, then the FlightScope's probably going to be better for you. All right, indoor use. Now with both of these, I've only had one session apiece with each of them indoors, so I haven't done this quite as extensively, but I'll share what I found. In most cases, they both worked really well. I did find that the Garmin struggled a little bit more inside to get accurate and consistent results. It seemed like, 1 out of every 4 maybe, either wouldn't register or would be inaccurate or something like that. Whereas the FlightScope, just being a larger radar and a larger device, seemed to pick up shots much better. With FlightScope, they say you need to put the device at least 8 feet behind the ball and have another 8 feet in front of the ball so that it can track it properly. Garmin says the R10 needs 7 feet behind you and 8 feet in front. So theoretically, if you've got a slightly smaller space, the Garmin might give you a little bit more flexibility there. But from what I've heard and what I've seen in my initial testing, you don't necessarily have to go all the way 8 feet back. If you're a little bit shorter on the back end with the FlightScope, it's still going to give you accurate results, but your mileage may vary there, so make sure you test it out. So overall, if you're planning to use this inside all the time or set it up in your garage or a simulator setup or whatever, you're probably gonna have better luck with the Mevo Plus, but also the R10 for, again, less than a third of the price, still does a great job. All right, I promised myself I wasn't gonna get super rambly and long-winded, yet here we are, probably far longer into this video than I would like to be, so we're gonna try and speed this up a little bit. E6 simulator software. What's great about both of these devices is they come with a license for E6. So if you're not familiar with E6, it's one of the most popular simulators out there. Each one gives you access to one mobile device. So I don't believe either of them will give you a free setup on your computer, but if you're using it on your iPhone or your iPad, you can use it there. The problem you might run into with both of those is it's only good for one device. So if you want to set it up on your phone and then move it over to your iPad, you're going to have to unpair it, repair it, cancel it. Like, it's a little bit of a process. And in both cases, with both the R10 and the Mevo Plus, it probably took me 10 to 15 minutes to properly get set up with E6. The software just felt a little bit clunkier. It wasn't quite as smooth as the native apps for both the devices. So just be prepared for a little bit of a setup, but once you get going, it works great. The only thing I will note, and this is kind of surprise, but with the Garmin, they give you access to Bandon Dunes, the golf course. So you get to play Bandon Dunes on a simulator, and that's pretty freaking sweet, whereas the Mevo Plus, they don't include Bandon Dunes. They have a different golf course. So as far as E6 is concerned, I'm gonna call this one a tie. Again, the metrics and the accuracy are going to be better with the Mevo Plus if you get it set up properly, but overall, you're gonna have a great experience with both of them, and the fact that it is included with both of these is huge, especially for the Garmin, considering how affordable it is. Okay, one thing I do want to mention that's a little bit different with the R10 than the FlightScope is that they have what is called their Garmin Golf Club membership. So it's $9.99 a month, and that gets you access to two main things as it relates to the Approach R10. The first one is called Home T Hero, and this honestly kind of blew me away the first time I used it. So essentially, it's not a full-on simulator, but it lets you play any course on any range. So I literally can go to my home course, Witch Hollow at Pumpkin Ridge. I can set it up and it'll show me the GPS overlay of the course. And so I tell it I want to hit driver, I hit driver, and then it'll take my ball, it'll put it wherever it is in the middle of the fairway, and I can play it from there. And then you can choose if you want it to auto putt or whatever. So it's basically just doing this on a GPS overlay, so you're not seeing anything in 3D, but you can literally play any course. And so if you're someone that's looking for something fun to do on a range, and if you like to practice on the range as though you're playing a real round, this Home T Hero feature is honestly really cool. And before I got the R10, I didn't know that was a thing. So once I started playing it, it was like literally the thing where I'm going to people on the range. I was like, dude, come check this out. This is super cool. And I really do think it's cool. But after the 30-day free trial, you got to spend $10 a month for that. The other thing that $10 a month gets you is the ability to upload your recorded video clips to the cloud so you can see them on any device. So if you want to basically track all of the shots you're hitting on the R10 with video and you want that to go to your Garmin account, you're going to need to have the Garmin Golf Club membership to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to have to scroll through your phone for your video clips. So if you don't want a monthly expense and you want all the video stuff included, the Mevo is going to be the way to go. But if you don't mind an extra $10 a month and you like the Home T Hero thing and you like the idea of all of your videos being saved in your Garmin account, then just be prepared for that monthly expenditure. All right, we're getting to the end, but let's take a quick look at value. Now, off the top, you're probably thinking, well, it seems like a no-brainer. The Garmin is a better value. You're getting nearly all of the stuff that the FlightScope has for a fraction of the price. But when you break it down, especially with the Pro package, so the FlightScope Mevo Plus with the Pro package is $3,000. And on top of the whole D-Suite parameters that they give you, it's also giving you fusion tracking technology. So this was originally only in FlightScope's top-of-the-line, 5-figure X3 device. And basically what that's doing is it's combining both Doppler radar and camera technology to give you the most accurate data possible. Now, the closest competitor I know of that gives you that same technology, I'm pretty sure it's like 10 grand plus more than what you're getting with the Pro package. So for $3,000, the Mevo Plus Pro package, it really is the Pro package. It takes this kind of consumer level, prosumer level device and really brings it up to more of a professional level. So the value that you look at from that perspective is absolutely crazy. So I look at it like this: price aside, the value you get from the Mevo Plus and the Mevo Plus Pro package compared to an X3 or a TrackMan or a GC Quad or whatever it is incredible. Now, looking at that in the same way, the value you get with the Garmin when you compare it to the Mevo Plus is incredible. So both of these I think are good values for what they are, but obviously one is still a lot cheaper than the other. All right, availability, and this is kind of a big one. Right now, at the end of February 2022, you can get a FlightScope. You can order them, they are in stock, you can have it to your doorstep in just a week or two. Whereas the Garmin is really hard to come by, and it has been for the last few months. Online right this second, it says it's sold out. A few weeks ago, it was saying a 5 to 8 week lead time. So if you need something right now, and it again is going to depend on when you're watching this, because hopefully soon they're going to solve these issues, the Mevo Plus is going to have more stock. Whereas I'm hoping, and I'm assuming the Garmin is going to become more available in the course of the coming months. But as of when this is recorded, the Garmin R10 is frankly pretty hard to get your hands on. All right, so there you go. Overall, how do we look? Where are we at with these? I'm not even sure where that ended up. They were probably pretty close to tied if you're breaking it down by category. But the bottom line is, if you're just a regular person, you want something to help you practice. You don't want to deal with a bunch of the setup. You don't want a ton of fancy data and a ton of numbers. And you might occasionally use it as a simulator or in a garage or an indoor setup. Then the Garmin Approach R10, it's going to do great for you. For $600, this is one of the most incredible golf devices I have used. It blows away its competition in the sub $1,000 market, and it really is a great piece of tech. On the other hand, If you are someone that is using the Mevo Plus in some sort of a professional manner, maybe you're an aspiring tour pro or college player, maybe you're an instructor, maybe you're a club fitter, or maybe you're an amateur that's just really serious about data and you want all of the information and you are a technical person and you want to get into it and you want a very professional feeling app. If you want it to feel kind of like you're using a TrackMan as opposed to a consumer level device, then the Mevo Plus is the best thing out there in its price point. It's going to be more accurate than the Garmin, but it's also going to take a little bit more work to ensure you get that accuracy. So if that sounds like the type of person you are, then I highly recommend the FlightScope Mevo Plus. This thing is really cool. So I wish there was an easy answer. I wish I could just say, buy this one or buy this one, but it truly depends on your goals, your budgets, your needs, and what you're going to use them for. But the bottom line is, these are both awesome devices. I think probably two of, if not the best two launch monitors out there for what they are. So most of us aren't gonna go out and spend 30 grand on a TrackMan, but devices like this, they get you surprisingly close for the average person for what you're going to need. So hopefully that was useful. My name's Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing here at Breaking80, where we review cool tech products and golf courses. So if that sounds like something you're into, then maybe give this video a thumbs up, maybe hit subscribe, do the whole thing, hit the bell. We're gonna probably have more videos. I've had a good response to the last couple I've done, so maybe we'll make this a regular thing. And with that, I'm done rambling. Have an excellent day. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.